It's another Monday afternoon and we are back from the fever and panache of the Mother's Day celebration. Now it's time to turn to the coldness of national issues. And this afternoon, we're going to dwell excessively on the thorny issue of flooding. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. We're taking a breather. When we come here, W briefs, and of course, when we come back, I beg your pardon, when we come back, there's W briefs and of course, our discussants.
Nyansa ashese 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗦𝗁𝗓. Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. Matthew chapter 19 verse 14. Oh yes, let the little children join hands with WTV every Sunday for a special children's service with the Methodist Church Ghana at 10 a.m. with a repeat at 2 p.m. on WTV and Facebook. Nyasa ashese 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗦𝗁𝗓. Wesleyan Television, reaching out to the world.
Yen church Jumedia Sronko Methodist Yashe at the air breb, yen church so ye besia adie afa de enim efa Nyankopon ho Yesu Kristo ho konkron ene sane ye tu ye gidie mu anamo ebe pensem ye gidie no fapem yen church ye bebisa ye besua na ye behu kan ye ho na yen sua de ewo yen church so yen church ye ma gidie no mu ada ho pepe.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Get ready for a transformational morning experience.
Sorena Shrine is here to build our spirituality, mental and physical well-being.
Through positive, inspiring actions and stories.
We bring you exciting activities and conversations that develop us as a people and as a nation.
We take a look at the trending issues in Ghana and the rest of the world.
And we also review the impacting stories from our local newspapers.
Every morning, we bring you stories of hope, change, and renewal.
We empower you through the Word of God and provoke you to live the purposeful life destined for you.
Join us, Anita Kwaku
and the Reverend 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 as we take you on an inspiring journey, live and exclusively on WTV.
You may also join us on Facebook at WTV Ghana and on YouTube at 𝗟𝗵𝗃𝗏 Ghana.
Sorry, not shrine.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Sorry, not shrine is brought to you by
Danwell Insurance, Multi-Credit Savings and Loans,
and the Methodist University Ghana.
Praise God, praise God. Christ in tea, you respond, yeah, addition. I'm excited to announce to you, friends in the Lord, are you seeking for a platform where you can pray? Open baby up a soul bomb pie. Now ninyami edi in kitahon. Bibi also. And I'm maybe not the same kum. And you come home. Let's go into the prayer room on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. to meet seasoned ministers of God that God has raised to impact your life. Remember, John Wesley said, I have too much to do, therefore I spend several hours in prayer in able to do it. We try and say, that is why we are calling upon you. Meet myself, Reverend Hosea Osei, and the Evangelism Missionary Renewal Directorate as we lead you into the prayer room where we encounter Christ. And I believe your life will never be the same. Call your friends, your loved ones, every Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., where we will encounter Christ. God bless you. See you on our screens on WTV every Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. God bless you.
It's now time to serve you 𝗟𝗑𝗏𝗡s. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. Now, this is precisely where we bring you up to speed with the relevant facts on all the issues that we would be examining on any episode of the state here on Wesleyan television. So we're going to delve straight into what we have today, constituting 𝗟𝗑𝗏𝗡s for, of course, the matter of flooding. But I think all of us understand clearly that water is good, but when water comes off in excess, then we can characterize that as flooding, and definitely that would, of course, give us a lot of challenges. And so over the years, Ghana has experienced many incidents of flooding occasioned by downpours, and the list is endless. Very soon we'll be touching and going to, you know, some of the landmark ones that we have experienced. Now, many of these heavy rains have led to overflowing rivers, flash floods, damage to infrastructure, homes, and sadly loss of lives. Yesterday all of us were in the mood celebrating Mother's Day, but it's unfortunate to indicate that some mothers have actually lost their lives due to the incidents of flooding that have plagued our country over the years. Now I'm going to bring you up to speed with some of the major flooding incidents that we have recorded in Ghana, and this particular one is a landmark development. On the 3rd of June 2015, I do recall with 100% exactitude where I was on that particular evening. I was very far, but the story really affected me because, of course, I had very close friends, good friends for that matter, becoming casualties of this incident. So on the 3rd of June 2015, heavy rainfall leading to flooding and explosion of a fuel station at 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 Circle claimed over 200 lives. It's unfortunate to indicate that my school son was even a part of them. You know, back then at Labone Senior High School, as school prefect, you would always have people who are connected to you. A couple of Labone students actually lost their lives in that particular incident. Just when we thought we were mourning enough, in the June of 2016, there was another major flood from June 9, which led to at least 10 deaths as of June 15, 2016. And so it follows that the casualties only kept on increasing. Now, areas affected were Nima, 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏 Circle, parts of Teshing Airport Residential Area, Jowulu, Achimota, and Chiado. All of these areas specifically are in Accra. But it is not only the capital that has been experiencing this unfortunate development. On the 27th of December 2021, again, heavy floods were recorded in the Kumasi metropolis, where 4 people lost their lives while 200 were displaced. So it is not only an issue that is centered in Accra. In case you want to think, well, all of this is about the capital, no, it extends beyond the greater Accra region. Then again, yes, so that was the case of the incident in Kumasi. Now, away from Kumasi, I mean, other incidents have been recorded nationwide. Some of them have not necessarily led to the loss of lives, but the developments have rather been unfortunate. We are moving on, we are making progress. Now, on Sunday, June 5, 2022, a 4-hour rainfall left parts of Accra flooded. Don't forget that we are bringing you up to speed with some of the major flooding incidents in recent times. Now, some areas affected were 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Circle. It looks like 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Circle is always implicated anyway. The Keneshi Market was equally affected, and the Spintex Road was not left out. This was on Sunday, June 5, 2022. Now, the most recent incident of flooding that got the entire nation talking. Indeed, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, even had to be involved in the conversation to the point that he went to engage the affected victims. Now, that had to do with the 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗏 Dam spillage, which displaced over 26,000 local folks from their homes in 8 communities along the Volta River downstream. This happened not too long ago, a development that everybody indeed was unhappy about. So that is just the brief about the 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗏 Dam spillage, of course displacing 26,000 people from their homes in 8 communities along the Volta River downstream. We are making progress. Now we're going to now delve into the major causes of floods in Ghana. Of course, heavy rains will by all means be implicated because flooding has gotten to do with water, and like I did indicate, even though water is life, when it is supplied in excess without appropriate mobility, you would of course experience flooding. So heavy rains of course has been implicated, but also poor drainage infrastructure, huge one there, huge one. And when we engage the NADMO coordinator, the director of communications, I beg your pardon, I'm sure we'll be dilating more on that subject. Deforestation has equally been implicated, and urbanization is also a factor. Siltation of water bodies, this matter is also up for conversation. It's part of the factors that we'll be probing this afternoon in analyzing the flooding situation in Ghana. Of course, climate change has equally been implicated. It's rather a complex issue, but I'm sure we'll be able to unpack it. Now let's get to the flood-prone areas in Ghana. Accra, the capital city. Everything good and bad, they say, happens in the capital. Kumasi is also there. So there is Accra, there is Kumasi, there is Tamale, and then there is Cape Coast. So Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Cape Coast. But that is not just all. Tema has also recorded, and Ashaman. Let me not talk about this particular community. Of course, Takoradi is also in the midst. Koforidua. So Accra, Kumasi, Tamale, Cape Coast, Tema, Ashaman, Takoradi, and Koforidua. All of these 5, if you like, jurisdictions, is it 5? No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 jurisdictions have experienced flooding or do experience flooding in very unfortunate proportions. We are making progress. Now, the question we're going to ask ourselves very soon is that these heavy floods, what are the measures we have been putting in place? We've already gone through the causes with you. So we're going to explore basically why we get here and why it has become a perennial issue. But I think I should take you through the causes again. So heavy rainfall, poor drainage infrastructure is implicated. Deforestation has also been nailed and named. Urbanization has also been pinned down, and siltation of water bodies as well as climate change. All of these constitute the factors that lead to flooding. Now the talk. Another rainy season is here, and on April 24, 2022, that is just some few weeks ago, of course, the National Disaster Management Organization advised the general public to pay heed to weather warnings and cautions. So 24th of April 2024, NADMO was on the beach once again, urging the generality of the populace to be sensitive to the atmospheric changes. Now the Ghana Meteorological Agency, 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗘, has encouraged Ghanaians to brace themselves for heavy rains, possibly from now till the end of July. And so if you are not living in a neighborhood that is that is impermeable to the heavy floods, I mean the rains, you should be worried, because of course the authorities are warning that from now to the end of July you may be in trouble. But we'll be speaking to 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗘 very soon. Indeed, this morning we had a conversation with some of them on the 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗘 morning show. So they have also been cautioning that from now to the end of July we may be in trouble. I think we're done with that. And finally, the Ghana National Fire Service, GNFS, has conducted simulation exercises in readiness for recusing victims of potential flooding as the rains set in. Now, anytime the rains set in and we have an overflow of that nature, you would expect a number of bodies, the police and all the security agencies integrating their forces to, as it were, rescue the affected victims. The Ghana National Fire Service, they've been doing a couple of simulation exercises in case we get to that point. Definitely, I'm sure we will get there anyway. But the big question remains, how prepared are we for the rains and any accompanying floods? So it's not just the rains that would soon be upon us, it's also any other development like what we saw in 𝗟𝗏𝗦𝗘. We are taking a breather. When we come back, we're going to delve into the substance of this all-important conversation. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. All right, thanks for your patience. It's now time for us to get into the substance of our conversation. Earlier, we were serving you with W briefs, and don't forget, it's important we give you the briefs because it gives us an insight into whatever conversation that we have outlined for any episode of the state. Now, joining us via Zoom, I'm now introducing our discussants for this afternoon's conversation. 𝗟𝗜𝗩𝗘𝗘 is the Director of Communications for the National Disaster Management Organization, but I do understand that he's currently not with us. We have lost him briefly, but certainly he's going to join us very soon, and we would be picking his thoughts on that. But we have on phone 𝗟𝗏𝗦𝗘𝗃. He's the manager for the Kumasi Airport Meteorological Office. 𝗟𝗏𝗦, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yeah, Paa Kwesi, I can hear you loud and clear.
Hello, 𝗟𝗏𝗦.
Yeah, Paa Kwesi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Sure.
Great. Yes, I was saying it's a privilege to have you this afternoon.
Yeah, Paa Kwesi, good afternoon, and also thank you for having me.
All right, sure. And in studio, we have Justice. Our Lord Justice is a social activist and a young fellow with CDD. I think CDD stands for Center for Democratic Development, right? All right, you're welcome to this platform.
Thank you very much.
Right. So these are the gentlemen, I should say, that we are going to be engaging this afternoon. Their thoughts is going to form the fulcrum of this afternoon's conversation. I'm going to start off with you, Justice, here in studio, because it appears we've lost the NADMO Director of Communications as of now. Now, from a very socialized perspective, why do you think repeatedly we keep experiencing the challenge of flooding?
All right, thank you very much, Paa Kwesi, and a very good afternoon to our cherished viewers this very afternoon. I believe that there is something that we are lacking as a country, and that is seen in the quote by Kofi Annan. He says that we can solve lots of our issues. We have the capacity to deal with our challenges if only we have the political will. When you look at all the causes of flooding in Ghana, they are as a result of lack of political will, because I believe that if you have the political will, we'll be able to deal with the poor settlement planning that we have in the country. We'll be able to deal with people that have built on drainage passages. We'll be able to deal with people that actually do anything at all that causes the flooding when the rain comes. We have been discussing issue of flooding for several years. This is not the first time we are discussing this issue as a country. Whenever the rain comes, then everybody is alarmed. We are all in a state where we are afraid for our lives. You narrated on the briefs about the June 3rd disaster. I remember that very well, 2015. And by then I was participating in the pulpits organized by TV3. So on that very day, I was actually training
are we safe to say that you're a preacher? I mean, is it fair to say you're a preacher?
It's fair. I'm actually a deacon of the Church of Pentecost here. So on that very day, I was actually training for my contest on the Sunday, and the rain actually came. And the next day, we had so many issues that were actually not palatable to our ears. And we keep on coming to these things. Whenever the rain comes, then there is an issue in the country. There are so many flood-prone zones in our country that we are actually not ignorant of. No politician or no leader in our country will tell me that they are ignorant of the flood-prone zones in our country. They are not ignorant that Circle is a flood-prone area. Begbe Ise, Aveno, Kokomlemle, all these places are flood-prone areas. And one thing that we see is that the drainage passages that are to ensure that when the rain comes, they flow freely. People have actually blocked these drainage passages. I remember somewhere last 2 years when the then Greater Accra Regional Minister, Honorable 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗘, actually started an agenda to deal with people who have built on drainage passages. We all didn't know what happened, and then that process actually stopped because we lack the political will. Basically, the government was maybe afraid that the people that are being dealt with will, in the long run, vote against them. This is the issue that we have as a country. So
then it begs the question, we cannot then blame the political class, because if the attitude of the people is not even, as it were, cooperating. For example, somebody was embarking on an exercise and then they now start noting the person in a bad light. We cannot blame the politicians alone, as you have been blaming all the while.
That is why dealing with this flood issue is a collective issue. We can't 100%, we can't blame the politician for the issue that we have. We have to actually develop the moral fiber of our country. We have to develop our mindset as a people, that no matter what we do, the things that we do will basically come up against us. We may blame this causes of flooding to, let's say, climate change and whatever, but you dumping waste in the drainage passages, you building on the drainage passages, is actually not the cause of nature. You are causing that thing that will eventually harm you.
So before I come to 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗘, if you were to do an apportioning of the blame, I mean, between government and the populace, out of 100, where would you do? How do you do your allocation as to who causes the flooding more?
For me, I believe that government has a role to play, and the role of government is bigger than that of the citizen.
So out of 100%.
So out of 100, I think government should play a 65% in ensuring that the political will is there. They deal with the corporate. When you actually go contrary to the rules and regulations that actually govern the environments that we live in, you must be dealt with. That is where the political will comes in. If the political will is not there, no matter what we do, people will actually still misbehave, so to speak. Because when you go to advanced democracies, it doesn't look like we don't have recalcitrant citizens in those countries. It doesn't look like we don't have recalcitrant citizens in the United States, Belgium, and the rest. But the system will actually make you
compliant.
Right. That is the thing. So we have to build our system in such a way that no matter how recalcitrant the citizenry are, they will be able to fall and follow every rule and regulation that we have for ourselves in dealing with any challenge that we are faced with.
Right. Kwame, Justice Alo, a young fellow at the CDD, makes the point clearly that if he were to apportion blames, he would fault government by a proportion of 65%. I'm coming to you on that same tangent, but from a more technical perspective, do you think that all of this can be blamed on the policymakers and the leaders that we have had over time and even in recent dispensations?
Yeah, thank you, Paa Kwesi. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and a very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. I heard Justice made mention of so many reasons as to why these kind of disasters and incidents do happen anytime there is flooding situations in Ghana, especially the Accra domain. Well, what I can say for now is that in as much as we have these artificial way of disposing refuse and whatever, I think we should also talk about the natural. Even though the natural is not causing that much, because when you have excessive rainfall for a short period of time, or let me say when you have continuous rainfall for several days, naturally there will be flooding situation, because it takes a longer period of time for the earth to soak the water deep into the earth crust. In spite of that, I always side with Paa Kwesi, because even though we are aware of these natural disasters, this natural phenomenon of these excessive rains and whatsoever, there's always a way around natural disasters, even when they occur. Example, Paa Kwesi, if I'm building a house, or let me say if I'm doing a project, and I give myself a chance to even grow lawn at my compound, the possibility of that community who have grown more lawns will experience less flooding compared to the community who have actually gone with the pavement and then this cement kind of pavement. So I think this flooding situation, rampant refuse, 70% or let me say 80% should be blamed on the populace. When I say the populace, including the government and each and every stakeholder, where stakeholder means every citizen. So I think flooding situations, we cannot stop talking about flooding situations year in, year out if we don't actually plan our ways, plan our settlement and then displace people from waterways and whatsoever. So I think this is becoming unbecoming, and it will continue until we change our natural plans, or let me say our national plans and our natural system of dealing with people. Yes, so that is what I can say for now.
Right. Just before you are done with what you can say for now, I want a little bit of clarity on your perspective. You seem to be saying that everybody should be blamed, but I want you to apportion the blame, in percentages, okay? Out of 100%, if you were to do the allocation, how much would you fault government and how much would you fault the ordinary citizen on the street?
Okay, I'll blame the government. I think it's going to be a 50-50 affair. 50 for the government, 50 for the citizenry. Reason being that, there are laws governing whatever this country. We have certain institutions. Obama rightly said, Africa, we don't need strong men. We need strong institutions. Who are the strong institutions? The strong institutions to cater for these flooding situations. The Ghana Meteorological Institution is there. The Environmental Protection Agency is there. The Town and Country Planning whatsoever is there. So we have all this. The NADMO is there. So if we don't empower these institutions to take drastic measures, like Justice rightly said, her Honorable Headquarters was doing a demolition exercise, I think last year and and beyond. And I think some of the populace were not into this idea, all because he is denying them of the habitat and settlement. In as much as we are talking about the government, we should also look at our various attitudes, our individual attitudes. When you see someone dumping refuse anyhow, any day, Paa, you can bear with me that the aftermath of rain, what do we see? We see debris, we see fridges, we see people disposing of their televisions, even in water bodies. We see various, rubber, plastic, whatsoever, as the debris aftermath of any rain incident. So I'll blame 50% for the government, 50% for the public. But I think if measures are taken, if drastic, and I'm quoting the word, drastic measures are taken, where institutions are working, I think people will be brought to book, and then the country will be free of these kind of disasters and situations.
Right. 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 Senior is the manager of the Kumasi Airport Meteorological Office, and he feels that the blame should be evenly distributed. I think this is where perhaps I should bring in my opinion on the matter, just to contextualize the discourse. Anytime there is a developmental issue here in Ghana and elsewhere, I always like to blame the citizens more and, as it were, shelve the leaders and those at the helm, because at every given point I have been of the persuasion that if the leaders, if those in power were to roll out a policy and the policy were even very effective, the implementation and the success or otherwise is largely compliant on the obeisance culture of the people. So for example, if government said that nobody were to litter, let's say, a particular stretch or enclave, and government were to deploy task forces and, you know, whatever personnel to ensure that that rule is complied with, don't forget that those individuals who be deployed may not be there forever. So ultimately, the responsibility collectively and predominantly will be on the indigents. So for me, anytime there is a development that has gotten to do with people, I like to blame people more than the government. But Justice Alor thinks otherwise. He says that government should be blamed the more, because he believes that if we have stronger institutions, things would always get better. But talking about stronger institutions, there is NADMO, there is Environmental Protection Agency. There are, we can enumerate a number of them. For the fact that we are still having the situation as we have it now, would you then say that all of them have been effective in addressing the issue over the years?
So that is where proactiveness and reactiveness comes in. I believe we have all the institutions in place, NADMO, Environmental Protection Agency, and what have you. But most of our institutions that actually guide our environment are reactive institutions. They are not proactive to that apogee. Because you see that when there is flood, the next thing you hear NADMO talking about is they are bringing you mattresses, they are bringing you foodstuffs, they are bringing you this. Meanwhile, there have been signs that with the actions of these people in this particular area, when the rain comes, it will actually cause flooding. What do? You must ensure that these people that are flouting the law are dealt with. We have all the laws, we have all the mechanisms to ensure that we do the things right. There is the need for us to be proactive and enforce the laws. We don't have to wait for the issues to come. We don't have to wait for the rains to come before we start complaining, before we come in with mattresses, before we say that we are liaising with the Church of Pentecost, we are liaising with Methodist Church of Ghana to secure accommodation for the people of Gbegbe, for the people of this place and that. We have to deal with the issues head on. And I want to speak to the citizenry that in as much as government, the political will is lacking, we also have important role to play to ensure that when the rain comes, we actually don't be at the receiving end of it. Whenever the rain comes, you have to ensure that you have protect yourself. How do you do this? You don't have to, be disposing of refuse. You don't have to build on drainage passages and all of that.
So don't you think if we were doing all of this, we may not even need NADMO, we may not need any other.
We wouldn't
reason
need them.
For which I am making the point that the greater lot, the greater onus is on the citizens, not the respective agencies.
I understand what you are saying. The laws are there. The laws that must ensure that citizens should not build on drainage passages are there.
Right.
Who must enforce, or who should enforce those laws? It is the government. But the government is not enforcing those laws. They wait for the people to actually build.
If I live at a place like Gbegbe, all right, a typical, a flood-prone area, and I'm happy that you have highlighted it a couple of times, because I used to stay around 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗓, and so I know that place. Indeed, I'm still around 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗓 anyway. Now, for an area like that, if you are a local there, and you know very well that when it rains, you are severely affected, okay? And you know that you would have to be displaced and all the inconveniences that you go through. Do you need any law enforcement agency to come and tell you to do the right thing? Don't you think it's more of a people's culture? If I am suffering, I should know precisely what to do right.
That is true, but there is national town planning document. There is a document that has been drafted. There is a framework for town planning in this country, which has not been implemented. The documents are there. Just like the earlier speaker said, that we don't actually need strong men. We need strong institutions. The laws are there. National town planning document. This document must be implemented. We must make sure that we actually work with this document. So a political scientist like 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗓 will tell you that you have to look at the context in which you are. You have to look at your setting as a people and ensure that you devise laws and you devise mechanisms that will help you to solve the situation or the problems that you are confronted with. That is why we actually elect government. You know, John Locke, in espousing and explaining what fiduciary responsibility means, John Locke tells you that the citizens actually gives responsibility to the government. They have given that trust to the government that you should take responsibility of certain things for them. That is why the government comes. So whenever there is a situation, there is a problem, and you start actually start explaining them, you start, you know, apportioning blame to the citizenry. John Locke will tell you, you break that fiduciary trust and responsibility that the citizens give you, and the citizens have the right to revolt and take that particular, you know, fiduciary responsibility and right that they have entrusted in your hands. What I'm driving at is that,
in 30 seconds.
Yeah, what I'm driving at is that we have the laws, we have everything. What we need to do now as a people, what we need to do as a government, it is the government that pull the people along and the people will follow. That is what happens in our advanced democracies. So the government must ensure that they deal with the issues head on, and we should stop being reactive as a government. We should stop being reactive and be proactive. Let's deal with the issue ahead of time before we are even confronted with it.
Kwame, Allah still seems, I don't want to say adamant, but is very firm on his stance that, look, all of this has gotten to do with, you know, the government and the state agencies that we have. You, on the other hand, think that it's a 50-50 affair, and that we should not blame government so much. Listening to him speak, are you compelled to get into his camp, or you want to stand where you are?
Yeah, Paa Kwesi, I will still stand at where I am in on my stance for now. Paa Kwesi, in certain communities, you realize people buying land, even in waterways. One, the reason why I blame the government on the part of the 50 is that who are those selling the land? Are they evaluated by the Lands Commission? Is the land actually a settlement area for people? Two, on the other hand, who is buying the land? The person knowing perfectly that this is actually a water-prone area, a flood-prone area, would want to buy the land just because of his settlement or his business, fill up the waterway, and then build. So at the end of the day, it's a two-way affair. The man who is in government, who is supposed to know the right laws and governing this kind of land, is not supposed to evaluate the land for the person to build on. He's supposed to make sure that, okay, these are conserved lands, these are waterways, so there should be no settlement here. On the other hand, this person thinking he has the money will have to, oh, don't worry, I can buy the land and then do whatever, I can fill up the place. At the end of the day, water has its own natural path it takes. So if you block it, one thing people don't realize is how powerful water is. And that has become rampant. In as much as we are blaming the government, we should also blame our chieftaincy system, because especially in the Ashanti region domain, we know that these kind of lands are being sold by our chiefs, knowing perfectly that this is a waterway, this is a wetland, and that no building should be put here. With their own selfish interest, they will not sell the land for their
for the sake of
at the end of the day, that one person building on that waterway might end up affecting this land, might end up affecting thousands of people. Should we wait for that one person building to cause the lives of some people? No. And that is why these government agencies should come to play. if there's a need for NASMO to break down buildings down for thousands
pause your thoughts briefly for me.
They need to do it. And these are drastic measures that need to be taken by the government. That is why I will always stand on the 50-50 affair.
Right.
So
Kwame, pause your thoughts.
This issue of flooding, like I said, natural disaster will not even come to play.
Kwame, can you hear me?
Our country, well, anytime there is an excessive rainfall, if we plan our gutters, our drainage system well, I think everything will move on smoothly. Even if there's 2 continuous days of rainfall, we will not have any issue with flooding. Now, let me talk about the construction and engineering sector.
Just before you go on the construction sectors.
What they
Hello,
tell
Kwame,
us
can you
is
hear me?
The money given to them is going to do only for this small gutter. They didn't actually increase the amount for this huge storm drain to be built. At the end of the day, what do we see? We see an overflow of water during excessive rainfall. Meanwhile, they are supposed to build storm drains, a huge storm drain. So you see, you have to blame the government for not doing the right thing, for not actually planning the country well, because it's not a citizen that's supposed to plan the country. Laws are to be enforced, and then if people are brought to book, I think this country will be a safe country, and then be prone of this flooding issue. So, Paa Kwesi, I'll still make the stance on the 50-50.
All right. I was trying to interject and throw in a follow-up question. You were citing the incidents of lands being inappropriately sold at Kumasi, but we want to go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to delve into the substance of that particular issue, because I also do agree clearly that yes, the chiefs, I mean, some of our chiefs, I should say advisedly, have not done as well in this particular respect. We're taking a breather. When we come back, there is more. Do stay.
Kwani try asio try kwan opani anyway ye bo kwan koto asio free tete odoman kuma die yakwa akoto no kwan ya fa so koto no enya de kro entimpani nse fa so koto ntiminya panin sire krokoto fasokoto ayanhwehwemu ade ko krokoto no ho ntinsio ayapani yakoto edu fasa akwa we so akase nyame ene de edikan ewa kwan nyina mu efrise ono de o ho ene yebeto no boy ene yebehu no nti yakwane ayefa so hunu nyame no ekire ejina baabia yete ene ya mamre so enti sa nyame krokoto no obehu ni ye ya agese wo kwan ya ono aboawo nyansa ma watimi aboa to wo na mpani fu asai de ato ho ama wo no uhunu sa kwan no na ofa so de sum ni ye
empanyi betrase na yeso ya adwen hwe yanim na ye chekra
Therefore, ade ache bio ye call ye na so ye koda ye rade adomunti ye nyina ya sorry emofra akọ musuku edwumayfo so kọ omunyuma so se wo son da yo se wan son da yo ye ka kire sorry na shere sorry na shere dwumadie ya no pabosu dwumadie bi a ye de bre yen se de be ya ye betimi enyini ewo hunhumu na yenyi ohunamu ne mpo etimi yenyini ewo adwene mu se de be ya yenyina betimi akyekere man na ya kyekere asafo na afi kra yetimi akyekere busua
ye behwe nsem a ekoso wo oman Ghana mu eni wiase afa na nyina
ye befa nsem efi ko wankrata mu ene abefo internet so
anape bia ye nsem a ema enidaso eni insatwaye ebebre ye de onyankopon asem bebre na yɛahwɛ so de abɔ yɛn bra. Afei ka yɛn ho anapa bia na yɛmfa anigye nsɛm mmerɛ wo.
ɛno nti afei ka yɛn ho
Anita Kwabo
ɛne Reverend 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 ɛwɔ Wesleyan TV so. Afei wobɛtumi ahwɛ yɛn wɔ WTV Ghana ɛwɔ Facebook so. ɛna afei Wesleyan TV Ghana ɛwɔ YouTube so. Sorry na shine.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Dwumadie aboafo bi te sɛ
All Insurance, multi-credit savings and loans.
ana Methodist University Ghana ana asɔ yasene.
All right. I was just noting the time and I realized that we have eaten a lot into the allocated duration for this particular conversation. And I'm saddened because this is one of the conversations that I would have had as, expand a lot of time on it. But it appears we'll have to be going away very soon. But in case you are just tuning in, this is another edition of The State, and we are focusing on the matter of flooding because indeed we are in the rainy season. The rains will soon be upon us, and when that happens, not everybody is happy. That is why this afternoon we are dilating on that subject. I've been speaking to Justice Alo. He's a young CDD fellow, also a social activist, as well as 𝗟𝗓𝗙𝗘𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 Meteorological Office. We are expecting to still have the Director of Communications for the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. Earlier, he was with us. I mean, he was connected via Zoom, but it looks like he had a challenge, and therefore he went off. He's not reconnected. But as and when he joins us, we want to pick his view. Very importantly, what is NADMO doing? What is the preparedness of NADMO ahead of the upcoming rainy season? But in this latter part of the conversation, I want us to focus on solutions. Indeed, from everything that you have said, you have teased out the solutions already. But at this point, I want us to itemize them, and you would have the opportunity to outline 3. Kwame, I'll come to you also for 3 quickly tangible solutions that you think, if we roll out, we'll be able to deal decisively with this issue. So 1, 2, 3. Let's fill the
So Paa Kwesi, for me, I believe that there should be a robust, responsive, emergency responsive system that should deal with the flooding issue that we are confronted with. And we also have undersized drainage passages in the country, which I believe should be looked at. They should be enlarged so that when the rain comes, the rain will be able to actually flow freely. And talking about the proactive aspect, I believe that government should enforce the laws. Government should ensure that the laws that guide our environment are actually complied by. And I believe that when we do these 3 things, and citizens taking the responsibility and ensuring that they also play a major role, we will have a safer place to be as a people. When the rain comes, we will not be worried, and we will not blame it too much on nature and then climate change.
Before we went on the breather, you were making a point about the existence of course, town planning templates that are supposed to regulate how our communities are structured. Now, if you look at some of these templates, if you examine them well, we all come to the inevitable conclusion that a lot of people have built in waterways. If we move to evacuate some of them, government may be tagged as insensitive. I want to put you on the spot.
That's true.
Everywhere the mayor in Accra, as of now, the rains will soon be upon us. Would you immediately go in and then clear all those people, regardless of how they will feel, and given the fact that they will be displaced?
No, that's not what I will do. I will actually ensure that there is proper conversation with these people, make them understand the effect of what is actually coming to them.
How proper would the conversation be? So, I'm living at Bigbe, say, I'm staying here as the mayor. You're telling me that, hey, move away, because when it rains, your structure impedes the flow of water, therefore move away. What else can you tell me for me to feel good?
So
you are asking me to leave my place of abode. You are displacing me.
As a government and as the mayor of Accra, what I will ensure is that there is proper conversation and there is a proactive measure by government to ensure that these people that we are asking to actually relocate, there is a place for them. So even before,
but government is not compelled to compensate people who have illegally erected structures. When they themselves have done it, government is not compelled.
That is actually true. But looking at where we find ourselves as a people, and looking at the situation where the person will be displaced, the person will not have anywhere to sleep, it is just human that as a government you actually provide some sort of relief for these people so that they will not live in a state where they become very miserable. So there should be measures even before the conversation starts. That is where the proactiveness comes in for me. Yeah.
That will come to you as at a cost. If you are the mayor and you were to compensate all the people that would be displaced, that is going to come to you at a huge cost.
You know, when you go to,
I'm trying to walk into the minds of those who sit in the decision making table, how they rationalize some of these issues, because it's not easy to just evacuate and then scatter people.
It is not easy at all.
Exactly.
But Paa Kwesi, you've been following what Paul Kagame is doing in Rwanda. He has a whole city village for people. Can't we do the same in Ghana? I believe we are even more capable.
It comes at a cost.
At a cost, and we are even misappropriating state resources. So some of those money should be channeled into solving this particular problem, not using them on, like you say, fanciful stuffs. Yes.
I'm coming to you, Kwame. Allah would be an interesting mayor if he ever gets that portfolio. But your three itemized solutions, Kwame, to dealing with this. But before we went on the break, you were making a case of, I don't want to say chieftaincy impropriety, but you said some chiefs, where you are, have been involved in this. Are you able to throw more light on this? I want to get a context in particular.
Yeah, obviously, before I go by itemizing some of these solutions, let me touch on what Paa Kwesi said about the issue of compensation.
What justice?
Government is not obliged or compelled to compensate anybody who has built on waterway and the building needs to be demolished. One, ignorance is no excuse of the law. In as much as you build, you think you have a proper habitat, and then you realize, no, it's not in accordance with the planning of the community. It needs to be brought down without compensation. If these kind of hasty decisions are not taken, people will have their leeway, and that is what Justice rightly said. Because we are in a democratic system, people feel, okay, I'm this political party, and then even to a large extent, Paa Kwesi, you realize that all these lands that are purchased by the citizens are backed by certain politicians or certain people in government. Because if Lands Commission is there, if EPA is there, if Town and Country Planning is there, if NADMO is there, if the Geological Service is there, why then should we give lands, which of course are flood-prone areas, to citizens to build? So this kind of thing, there's nothing like any compensation. If we take any decisions, when people are brought to book as well, then I think that the country will be safe and be deprived of flooding. One, Paa Kwesi, what we need to do as a country is to extend our urbanization somewhere else. Kumasi and Accra has been the center of commercial activity, which in a way is not the best. Everybody is trooping in. Rural-urban migration. Kumasi, Accra. I think if we extend our urbanization system, our commercial activity
can you hear me?
to various regions, I think it will curtail this flooding issue. Because the more congested we are, the more we are prone to this flooding issue. Because at the end of the day, we have millions of people living in Accra. Are we saying we are all living at a particular place? No, we are being congested. People are forced to build in certain areas which they are not supposed to. People are forced to make unnecessary rubbish mistakes, indiscriminate rampant of refuge. So I think we should extend our commercial cities and our urbanization. Secondly, what we need to do is to go in for more lawn-prone areas than to go in for this pavement thing. Because in the advanced world, Paa Kwesi, you realize the idea of laws are encouraged, even at our home. where you have the rain falling and then sinking deep down. We are always having flash floods because of this issue of pavement and then this cement kind of, let me say, our environment. So I think going forward, if we encourage these laws, going laws, I think it will curtail. 3, we should go with the recycling system. When I say recycling, what do I mean perfectly? You realize that, like I said, the aftermath of every rain, what do we see as debris? We see plastics. So this issue of flooding is caused predominantly by the indiscriminate dumping of plastics. Because if it were to be biodegradable, then obviously even if it will take years, it will still degrade. But when you go, if we continue to use these plastic, they don't degrade, or let me say, they don't rot or do whatever. So they will still end up choking our gutters, and then this issue of flooding will continue to persist. So I think going forward, we should encourage recycling, and that is what we are supposed to do as citizens and by the government. Because if you look at the amount we spend on sanitation alone, even when there is flooding, I think it could even solve so many issues, governmental issues. But at the end of every year, we go about compensating people, we go about doing this, we go about the self gutters. So if you go in Kenya, there's a fine if you even go in for plastic. You are supposed to pay $6,000 or even go to jail for 6 months.
Right.
So the laws should work.
Right.
So I think going forward, Ghana Meteorological Agency will always come with the warnings. But what are we supposed to do as citizens, as government, to curtail some of these future flooding situations? So that is what I can say from Paa.
Very, very charged opinion there. But we just have some 2 minutes more to go. Malo, in wrapping up, 1 minute, your concluding remarks. I come to Kwame and then we'll call it a day.
I would say that we all have responsibilities to play in ensuring that we deal with the issues of flooding. And then finally, since we don't have much time, I would like to send a shout out to a very good friend of mine who is watching me currently, Jonathan Nanang. He is aspiring for University Student Association of Ghana president. I wish him all the best in his ambition, and I hope the good Lord will actually show his favor upon him and grant him victory. Then thank all our cherished viewers this very afternoon. We all have responsibility to play, and I still believe that, just like Kofi Annan said, we have the capacity to deal with our issues if only there is the political will. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I come to Kwame, let me give you the opportunity to throw in your very final comments before we call it a wrap on the show.
Okay, thank you, Paa, for this opportunity. I'll extend my sincere gratitude to my Director General of Ghana Meteorological Agency, Dr. 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗔𝗓 gone were the days when Ghana Meteorological Agency, we used to only speak via TV, but right now social media is at our disposal. We are on WhatsApp, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, so we have timely weather updates for the citizenry. So in as much as we are doing a long term, we should stick to this weather update day in, day out to plan our activities. And then I also send my sincere gratitude to the my colleagues, Center for Forecast and Analysis, for also doing a great job, and then the entire Ghana as a whole.
All right, I want to pass on this message. This was coming from one of our viewers, 𝗟𝗵𝗙𝗘𝗓. Stephen works with Enterprise Life. He says that we really cannot blame the government solely for flooding situations in the country. I think we equally have a major role to play in solving the issues of flooding in the country. And he goes on to say that visit Circle and witness the rate at which people dump refuse into the 𝗟𝗓𝗩 gutter, which is supposed to be a major drainage system constructed by the government to partially or fully resolve the issue of flooding in that neighborhood. But then when you view it from the angle of recalcitrance on the part of citizens, one can also argue that what measures have the government put in place to query such recalcitrant citizens who indulge in such flood prone activities. Then he concludes and says that it is a collective responsibility, and I'm inclined to really agree with him. And of course, from the opinions that have been expressed on this platform, all of us can come to that logical conclusion that in as much as government has a role to play, the generality of the populace also, indeed, we are all involved in helping build a better Ghana. So I've been speaking effectively to 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘, Justice at Law, is also a young fellow at CDD. Then, of course, we had George AEC, who is the Director of Communications at the National Disaster Management Organization. Unfortunately, we lost him mid-conversation, but we are hoping that we are able to reconnect with him again another time. But until then, of course, let's all observe the relevant sanitary conditions. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. Just before we go, the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy has a 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘, who is celebrating her birthday. We extend our greetings to you as well. On Wednesday, we'll come your way again. Bye-bye. Plus